It shouldn't take a Speaker of the House to have to get involved every one of these times to get the Department of Justice or any department in the executive branch to comply with congressional oversight requests. The sooner the Department of Justice complies with all of our document requests, which are legitimate document requests, the better this is going to be for everybody. And had they complied with these document requests earlier when we made them, we probably could have spared the country of all this drama.
That was House Speaker Paul Ryan responding to a question regarding congressional investigations, showing his frustration as the Inspector General gets ready to issue his report on the FBI's handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Now we know that there is a date. It is slated to come out on June 14th, this upcoming week, the same day as President Trump's birthday, by the way. Here now is Hugo Gurdon, Washington Examiner editorial director. Hugo, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me,
Maria. What are you
Maria.
expecting from the IG report? What's the word in terms of what we should expect in this report?
Well, it's a massive report, Maria. It's 500 pages or so, and I expect that it will expand greatly on the information that there is about Andy McCabe, who has already been recommended for prosecution. It's probable that James Comey, former FBI head, and Loretta Lynch, former Attorney General, are going to come out looking, not looking good here. I suspect that there will be others who are recommended for prosecution, too. And I think one of the things that's really interesting here, the report has been delayed week after week after week. Finally, we've got a date. But one of the things that the Inspector General does is inform those people who are referred to in the report and who have sections of the report about them, about what's being said about them. And then he incorporates their replies. The delay seems to me to indicate that there will be quite a few people have been told they are in the report, and he's been waiting for their replies. And we're finally going to hear about what they say.
Yeah, and we've been trying to understand better how far up the line in terms of the Obama administration this really goes. Who did make the decisions in terms of oversight for the Hillary Clinton email scandal versus the Trump investigation, which we are waiting for any evidence of collusion, which never happened, obviously. So you think Loretta Lynch is going to be tagged?
Well, what exactly will be said about her, of course, I don't know. But, she had a meeting with Bill Clinton on the tarmac of an airport. This is when Hillary Clinton was being investigated. She was the one who had discussions with Comey, and they, several people senior people in the DOJ and FBI knew that she was not going to be charged with anything before she had even been interviewed about her emails. So I think that there's a very strong suspicion that political considerations were taken into account and influenced the way that these investigations were done, which was highly improper.
Right. I think they said that they were talking about grandkids.
Right, of course. And yoga schedules.
And yoga schedules, that's right.
Exactly.
Let's switch gears. The president is sounding off on the Obama administration this morning with regard to its dealings with Iran as well. The president yesterday said this: the Obama administration is now accused of trying to give Iran secret access to the financial system of the United States. This is totally illegal. Perhaps we could get the 13 angry Democrats to divert some of their energy to this matter, quote unquote, as Comey would call it, investigate. What about that, Hugo? How much is actually known about how lenient the Obama administration was with Iran? We were talking about this yesterday with James Freeman from the Wall Street Journal. And basically what we learned was it was the banks, two banks, that said no, pushing back on the Obama administration, saying, no, we are not going to get involved in this, and we are not going to facilitate Iran to get involved in our financial system.
Right. What happened was that the Treasury did, in fact, issue licenses to allow money in, I think it was both in one bank in Muscat and another one in Korea, to use the American financial system to exchange the local currency through dollars into other currencies. But the banks didn't want anything. What this shows is not illegality. I think the president got that wrong. The Treasury did issue the licenses. But it shows how desperate the Obama administration was to please Iran, to get cozy with Iran. There is evidence that these moves, granting the licenses, were used by the Obama administration to show Iran that it was going beyond what was actually required in the deal, even though The defense by the Obama administration now is that it needed to do these things for the deal. I don't think that's true.
Right. It wasn't illegal. But again, we had Secretary of State John Kerry and all these other administration officials after the deal. They were across Europe trying to encourage banks to do business with Iran to make this work. Just to point out, Hugo, we need to drive this point home. $100 billion in sanctions relief for Iran, a state sponsor of terror. $1.7 billion in pallets of cash sent in the middle of the night that we wouldn't even know about without the Wall Street Journal reporting.
Incredible.
And this to basically fund Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthi rebels in Yemen and cause unrest and exact terror on parts of this world. That's exactly what went on with this. And this
You're
is
exactly right.
This is an outline of what any deal with North Korea does not need to look like. All it did, we handed Iran money and then just pushed down the road development of a nuclear weapon. Again, the sunset, the nuclear development kicks back in 2025. It's an abomination.
Here's my question, though, and maybe Hugo, you can best answer this. And you've used some interesting words, that what they've uncovered was improper, what they've uncovered they shouldn't have done. Are we ever going to get to some indictable offenses? Yes, the past administration have done things they shouldn't have done, but again, I think the American taxpayer is getting to the point where they say, so what? Every administration does that.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think that on this particular issue relating to Iran, I don't suppose there will be indictments. But because there were licenses. But Jack Lew, the Treasury Secretary, deceived Congress by when he was asked questions about this. There was language that had been prepared that if he was pushed on this issue, he was going to have to admit that the administration was making things easy for Iran or trying to make things easy for Iran. He didn't, even though he was pushed on this, he never used that language. Congress was left in the dark about the fact that the administration was going above and beyond a deal which Congress didn't like anyway. And so there was deceit and dishonesty from the Obama administration on this issue, as on many other issues.
Certainly feels that way. Hugo, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
We'll see you soon. Hugo Gerdau.
The rumors and news that has appeared in the press that the U.S. is preparing to reinstate a U-turn authorization or to allow Iran access to the U.S. financial system are not true.
We have a full U.S. embargo on Iran that prohibits transfers of funds through the United States.
Iran will continue to be denied access to the world's largest market.
Whether knowingly or not, all of those Obama officials misled Congress. A Senate subcommittee on investigations report alleges that the Obama White House secretly sought to give Iran access to the U.S. financial system by sidestepping sanctions kept in place after the nuclear deal, despite repeatedly telling Congress and the public it had no plans to let Iran do that. Remember when President Obama said this, quote, "I didn't have scandals. Seems like it shouldn't be something you brag about. No one in my White House ever got in trouble for screwing up as long as there was not malicious intent behind it." Let's bring in former speechwriter for George W. Bush. He's a Wall Street Journal editorial board member. It's Bill McGurn. All right, he didn't have any scandals. We counted at least 20.
Right.
Around 20. Let's show them. The Iranian deal to Russia, IRS targeting, Benghazi, Fast and Furious, and more. Your reaction to this report?
Well, look, I think, to the report specifically, it's outrageous. And I think it's part of a larger fraud of the Iran deal, where it was presented as a treaty, but they made an end run around the Senate. Everything was done to not follow the process, and now it's upended because it was so brittle. But I think that's the real. There's a lot of scandals. I think it's fair to say in most administrations you're going to have some scandals, just human nature.
Yeah, but this one was.
This is in a different category because many of their scandals were either manipulating or going around the rules, as in this case. And remember all the comments Ben Rhodes said about Iran getting the deal, how you could manipulate the press and
because they don't know they're
don't know
young
too much. So
they're young reporters.
You can tell them whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, here's Donald Trump saying today, quote, "This is totally illegal. Perhaps we could get the 13 angry Democrats to divert some of their energy to this matter," as Comey would call it. Investigate. Is it illegal? Should there be an investigation? Now, there's a debate whether it's illegal, but they certainly did mislead Congress. And then they talked about the snapback sanctions. Obama kept going on about snapback sanctions. And it turns out the 200 road shows, the one in London, the Treasury officials under Obama's bill were saying, you know what, don't worry about the snapback sanctions to the banks at that.
And this is the danger
place.
of a more or less compliant press, that they didn't press him on it at the time. In the Iran deal, a lot of people just look the other way.
But you know, this makes you think, like, what else was going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, well, I think we're learning,
House, right?
With the FBI, we're learning a lot about it. I mean, we now have a deputy director of the FBI who may be under criminal indictment soon. Let's remember, whatever Mrs. Clinton's culpability is, she took her entire emails off the grid because she didn't want anyone looking at it. As someone that served in the White House, that's incredible.
And known classified info of that.
Right.
But staying on this Iran deal, what the Obama White House seemed to be doing was trying to normalize a jihadi regime that hates America and is brutal and supports terrorism.
I think it's a warning
with cash. They're trying to get them cash.
It's a warning for President Trump on Kim. You know, President Obama wanted a deal from the first day at almost any price, and he paid almost any price.
Is he going to get in trouble for this report?
I don't know if he's going to get in trouble, but I think it's going to make the Trump policy a lot easier to effect, because it's going to be a more honest policy, right? I mean, the Trump administration says if they're going to be deals, we're going to put them before the Senate. We're going to argue about them openly and honestly. So I think
it's like you're seeing Trump deals in real time, but with Obama, it's all the shadow diplomacy and side deals.
And look, in a democracy, a free society, process is as important as outcome.
I mean,
and the Obama administration ran over process whenever they felt they needed to.
Pen and phone. It's pretty stunning. Can you come back in and talk about this? Because this is a major report. Bill, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Liz.
We love having you on.